For any tea for a movie be a quabashon so at the Ghana Politics Avenue. So you best show me as a free and Robert Medica series. Like a share subscribe to the channel, no? Send me a floor and so a bit to me. I can't age be a yedi or Ghana Politics Avenue. So you best show and so say open notification bell so, but I don't want to send a political trending news via echo ever piano. Ghana Politics Avenue. So for good about politics. I need to move into my any young and any campus. Abusuafo ne call political highway no so no ye nyina ye nim former Aaron Oquaye ye nim se oye former speaker of parliament se si an waba aba be kasem waba aba be pansam waba aba be bi na no akasem se de kisi ajaban ye no abro so ono ampa ye ntene nkasa na ne wabe kasem ne na se abro so ampa se ne osika no na wabe kase ehun hia se obeche no na adan na omo a omo deserve se omo dem na omo deserve se ye detain omo no crown ye ntimi crown detain one crown na se ye ntimi crown ko ba kra fie enkoche na adan ntine wo se o arrest lawyer Martin Kpebu for just saying the truth. That is a lawyer Martin Kpebu no former speaker of parliament no crown so etane chair or chim bim say or say oko na or release no free the detention now when detaining na push for yem pese be jemon bravo so bebre yem pese be say mon bravo so bebre mo me enko na pay aso any ni okoti nsema okafa ye da obi as
say, is there any legitimate reason whatsoever for Martin Kpebu to have been subjected to this?
It is most unfortunate. Most unfortunate, and even more so, because we need a certain amount of stability, peace, decorum in this republic to go about our developmental matters. Very, very, very important. In the first place, the special prosecutor did not even have any business involving inviting Mr. Kpebu there. If Mr. Kpebu says you are corrupt, you can sue him, or can you refer him to another agency if you think there's a crime to look into that, because your business is to investigate corruption. Is Mr. Kpebu being charged with corruption? He's definitely not being charged with corruption. Therefore, we mustn't just mix things up. Because I want peace in this country. One professor of political science, Huntington, wrote something very typical of the whole of Africa. He says, we are a Praetorian society, confusing everywhere. People are abusing power everywhere. We don't strengthen our institutions, we just proliferate institutions. Instead of making the Attorney General's Department very strong to prosecute, we create something else. Those who lived at the time of this well-known DPP, Jekidako, will know how strong the Attorney General's Department has been before. And I believe that this is because we are not creating strong institutions. We keep on just proliferating and adding upon. Then we get confused in the process. I think what is happening now is very unfortunate. And all well-meaning Ghanaians must really condemn it. You know, bail being used to show people where power lies is not a yesterday matter. We have known it since legal practice decades ago. Bail being manipulated in this regard. There is no principle of law anywhere in any civilized country whereby the bail that must be justified must have a landed property in the name of the person who is a suspect. Because does that mean that people who don't have landed property therefore can never get bail? What is this? Because these are matters of principle, issues of law, issues of human rights. Now, because they can't really get the man on what they wanted, they say that, oh, why did you give an interview? You want to suppress his freedom of speech? You cannot question his granting an interview. Let us know this in this republic. You cannot question any Ghanaians giving an interview regard to any matter. For that matter, how do you now, a policeman, whoever is that person may have been, now accost Mr. Kpebu and start having an altercation with him? I believe that this matter is most unfortunate. I have been watching this program, 10 p.m. We don't really know whether the man has been released. If this arbitrariness is allowed to continue, it will be a fundamental violation of the rule of law in this country. I am very, very much in these processes. I've watched things from the pre-independence days to today. And some of us just can't stand the disrespect for people's rights. It has been going on anyway for some time in this country since 7th of January. I think this should make us all realize that it's time it stopped. And in fact, I would advocate that we should stop this proliferation of institutions of investigation and strengthen the institutions that are already there. If that should happen, it will help our country.
There's no basis, you say, for Martin Kpebu to be detained as we speak.
I beg your pardon, sir.
There's no basis for Martin Kpebu's detention whatsoever.
There's no basis, actually. Because if you say you are investigating him for accusing you, is that part of corruption? But that is your mandate. And you must operate strictly within the parameters of your mandate. And if, therefore, you think he has maligned you, you have to sue him in the civil court or refer him to the NIB or some other investigation body, because you cannot be a judge in your own cause. That is also an affront to the rule of law and a fundamental principle of justice. You see, we should not confuse issues, because Ghana, we should be high up there. And I am particularly unhappy about some of these things which create what I've just described earlier, a Praetorian society. A Praetorian society collapses, and we don't want this country to collapse. It will not.
Now, they're already, even prior to today, questions were asked as to whether the special prosecutor should be the office investigating this said allegation made by Martin Kpebu against the same office, to the extent that this reason why Martin Kpebu is being investigated was an allegation of corruption against the office, and it's the same office that is investigating him. Is that consistent with practice?
No, and that's why I say the special prosecutor cannot be the judge in his own cause. The rule of law affords that ab initio. And for that matter, I say he may either refer him to the NIB or he may sue him in a civil court if he feels he has been detained. Because the freedom of speech issue is very, very important. The man is well known as a man you can give bail to, and tomorrow morning he will come. What is this kind of onerous bail term that he should bring a landed property and it must be in his own name? A Ghanaian doesn't have to have a landed property in order to defend or pursue his human rights, the right to bail. And that is very, very important. And it pains me because does the Special Prosecutor's Office know, they want to tell us that they don't know this fundamental issue of law? And if so, then what is Ghana? Where are we going to? Ghana is too good a country to suffer such things. In fact, the parliament can bring a private member's bill now to have this office dissolved, if that's the kind of situation we are going to have in this country, and then strengthen the Attorney General's office.
We've seen this modus where the investigative bodies, when they're investigating someone, will take this said suspect or anybody they're investigating to an unknown location. Even his lawyers cannot even locate the said client or not even know where they are. And it has sadly become part of the modus that is employed by these investigative bodies. Is it one that you're concerned about?
Yes. You see, it is Rambo style. It is Gestapo kind of doing justice. And Ghana should not accept that. A man's wife, it's 10 p.m. Ghana is going to sleep soon. And the man's wife doesn't know where the husband is, so that she can also take whatever appropriate steps by lawyers. The man has brought lawyers into the case. His lawyers don't know where he is. That itself is a serious abuse, and it's an abuse of office. And some people must be sanctioned for that. It's an abuse of the legal process, and for that matter, the powers of that particular office. Our Constitution states in very clear terms that every discretionary power must be used to satisfy the basic principles of law.
Now, you talk about the office of the special prosecutor, and you say that you expect that Parliament would have a private member's motion to have the office of the special prosecutor dissolved. Now, and I believe that when this office, the bill establishing this office was passed, you were Speaker of Parliament, is it not? Respectfully.
Yes, what?
You were Speaker of Parliament, but you think that
yes,
the OSP, I mean the Office of Special Prosecutor, has outlived its usefulness, or at the time you had reason to preside over the business of having this bill passed into law?
Looking at what is happening and the flagrant abuse of human rights, and also the fact that I would prefer that existing institutions are strengthened rather than having multiplicity of them with all manner of problems for us. Go and look for the man in this particular office. No, he's not with us now. He's with another organization, and so forth. What is this? And I'm saying that we have had strong prosecutors before. If you ask lawyers who are old enough, they will tell you about men like Dako. Therefore, if you look at the benefit of hindsight, we better go and do Sankofa and strengthen the office of the DPP, Director of Public Prosecutions, and then do things straight and right and according to the true tenets of the law.
I see. Now, the Director of Public Prosecutions should rather be strengthened and do away with the OSP's office.
That will benefit us, I believe, because they have got pride of ancestry. They have got a tradition. They have got the best practices. And the best practices must be maintained. They must be retooled. They must be strengthened as an office to help do justice in this country. Rather than we put an office up today, tomorrow we change the name, another time we set up another one, and sometimes we don't even know which organization should investigate that. And sometimes there's a clash with regard to jurisdiction and powers. It appears everyone now wants to show how far it can also stretch its powers. We have to rationalize things and strengthen our institutions.
But I recall, I followed the debate on the floor of Parliament prior to this OSP bill, or the bill being passed into an act, and which you presided over as Speaker. All these proposals and recommendations came up, strengthening the AG's office to do what the OSP was being set up to do, strengthening the Director of Public Prosecution to do what the OSP's office is being set up to do. All of those fell on deaf ears at the time. Would you say that, with the benefit of hindsight, maybe you were wrong in that instance?
In saying that, with the benefit of hindsight, with the problems that are happening, with this abuse of jurisdiction and so forth, and people don't even want to go by their limits to investigate matters of corruption. Then it's Kpebu to be investigated for matters of corruption. Is he a public officer? When was he in an action that was a matter of corruption? These are very, very important things. And what pains me, not because it is Martin Kpebu, but because it is a Ghanaian, is that some people want to show power. Some people want to let somebody taste something small, to show somebody where some power lies. These draconian tactics who don't deserve it. Not in a country that seeks excellence like Ghana.
Is the issue with the office of the or the person occupying the office as special prosecutor?
I don't want to talk about individuals. I like systemic arguments about system. Whether it's the occupant or the office per se, I think this matter requires very serious examination. I say it is past 10. I've been sitting also watching a Ghanaian who is well known for his public critique activities, which of course we also need in this country, whether you agree with his views or not. It's now in custody. They say they are now going to give him bail and so on and so forth. His wife should be at home with his wife by this time. And it is a matter of principle.
Professor Aaron Michael Oquaye, and I thank you for your thoughts. But the most important call you leave with us is that Martin Kpebu should be released wherever he is right now.
He must sleep on his bed. The special prosecutor is going to sleep in his bed. Kpebu too must sleep in his bed. The Ghanaian's liberty, because he went and spoke to some reporter, so what? Otherwise, the 1992 Constitution is of no essence. Let him talk to media men. Nobody must be worried about that. Nobody must be detained for that. It is a fundamental issue for a Ghanaian. Look, some of us, in those days, around 1992, when we were seriously speaking against the PNDC for certain military tactics, when we went to broadcasting house, the place was dark with wax. People will tell you. They could have shot some of us, and we have been even vanished into oblivion. So I'm very sensitive about draconian tactics. So we must make sure that anyone under suspicion can also sleep in his bed as a Ghanaian. At the appropriate time, bring appropriate evidence. If you are not a libertarian, you cannot hold the office of a special prosecutor. You must be a libertarian. You must champion the essence of liberty. This is my view.
Right. And the special prosecutor would always reference some achievements that it has chalked over the period. Some $2 million deal in the Minerals Income and Investment Fund and others that he references as achievements of the office of the special prosecutor under Kisi Ejabeng as special prosecutor. You think that's not enough justification for the office to be maintained and strengthened?
That cannot be a justification vis-a-vis the liberty of a Ghanaian.
So Martin Kpebu deserves to sleep on his bed.
He deserves to sleep on his bed with his wife, like the special prosecutor is meant to deserve. We are all Ghanaians.
Professor Aaron Michael Oquaye, I thank you very much for joining us.
And I'm watching.
Yes, I know you do watch all the
also
time.
Also in the bedroom.
Absolutely.
Ready to sleep.
I know.
Somebody must sleep in his bed.
True. I know you watch Ghana Tonight all the time, and I thank you. Thank you for the input, and thank you for the feedback that you give as always. I do appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you. Professor Aaron Michael Oquaye is former Speaker of Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. He's a former Member of Parliament himself, a private legal practitioner, was contributed to shaping our legal framework, our jurisprudence as well in many ways. And he's been credited for a number of things that we have seen as well in time. But the question that I ask about the Special Prosecutor's Office, that act that establishes the office, he was Speaker of Parliament when this Special Prosecutor's Office was established with that act. And he says, this was as far back as 2017, he says that upon benefit of hindsight, he thinks that, look, maybe we should just do away with it, strengthen the Director of Public Prosecutor's Office and then the Attorney General's office to do the work that the OSP has been set up to do. Over the last few days, we've seen the OSP put out its own achievement of what they've been able to achieve over the period. And he's calling on even the members of parliament to push a private member's motion to have this particular issue being brought to the front burner in parliament for consideration. It's a very interesting proposal coming from the man who presided over the entire process in parliament. The establishment of the OSP's office. He's an ardent viewer of Ghana Tonight, by the way, that we appreciate him for, and I do thank you for it. But listening to Professor Oquaye sends a certain signal.
Very interesting there. Very interesting interview you had with him, and I think you hit the nail right on the head when you put it within the context of his role in the law being passed, and so it's very important to hear his perspective there. The law was passed in 2017. We are just in 2025. We've had 2 special prosecutors so far. The first being Martin Amidu. We know how that ended, and now Kiseja being in office about 3 to 4 years now, and we've seen how that is playing out in terms of the concerns that have come up so far. Alfred, there's an update that we can bring to our viewers. We've been walking you through the very latest on this matter. We have another very interesting development for you. And so first, the story started off that he had been whisked away from the OSP. He was taken over to NIB. We are now having an update. The update is that he's being moved from the National Intelligence Bureau installation to the Office of the Special Prosecutor as we speak. So Martin Kpebu currently is being moved from the National Intelligence Bureau installation here in Accra to the Office of Special Prosecutor here in Accra. And that, we understand, may be pointing towards the information that we had picked up, we had put out, that there has been some form of intervention that may result in his release this evening. You recall, Alfred, I had raised the question about the procedural difficulties and the non-likelihood of he being released if he were to remain at the NIB office, because that is just a holding facility that a state agency would have tasked the officers there to keep an individual, and that would be a limited mandate, and they can't deal with the issues surrounding the release of the person at that particular level. But there is a very disturbing part of the story that we are learning from lawyers of Mr. Kpebu, is the fact that they have still not cited Martin Kpebu for more than 2 hours. I mean, right from when they got the information, just like we confirmed from our sources, that he was being kept at the National Intelligence Bureau security installation. They moved over there. They got there. Their details were taken. They have not had the opportunity to see Martin Kpebu with their own eye, except to also pick the information that we have also picked from our sources, that he's been moved to the Office of the Special Prosecutor. And so they are following through over there to get a sense of whether they will have the opportunity to complete the process to have him go home now. But that is what we are learning so far by way of an update, Alfred. Interesting development here. 2+ hours. The lawyers have still not cited Martin Kpebu.
And that's why I kept asking that question consistently. It's his fundamental, right of any suspect. We're not even talking about an accused person. And this you would learn at Law 101 in law school. You know, that no matter how much of an accused person you are, you still deserve some conference with your lawyers, you know. So unless there's any good reason, and that's why you ask, Tadio, kept asking questions, and we need to hear from the special prosecutor.
Absolutely.
Tomorrow or whichever time that, you know, the office decides to explain to us.
Yeah, I don't think it's a matter that they can just wake up and sweep under the carpet.
Not at all.
He's been left to go there. There has to be some explanation. But Alfred, there's an interesting trend that we are seeing in terms of some of the key actors we've engaged this evening. Some of the key actors that we have been speaking to, very important contributors in and out of Parliament, within the legal fraternity. We hear from a speaker shortly, and we see a certain trend emerging. And I'm just going to walk you through some of the comments that we've put out and published on our various portals. And this one here, you have Abraham Amaleba. Abraham Amaleba is a member of the National Democratic Congress. He's currently the acting Director General of the National Road Safety Authority, and he says the Attorney General must intervene and order for Martin Kpebu's release. He goes on to make the point that what the OSP has done is a very irrational act. The Attorney General must immediately intervene and get Martin Kpebu released. And so that is what he told us earlier on today. We also heard from the camp of the United Party, Solomon Owusu, a regular contributor here on Key Point and on our various platforms, including New Day as well. He says the OSP must tender in his resignation tomorrow morning. We sent him there for a specific purpose. That's what Solomon Owusu had to say. Professor Enoch Opokwentri, a governance analyst, told us that Martin Kpebu is not a public servant, neither has he engaged in a corrupt act. So why do you arrest him in such a manner? The OSP must free him now. We also heard from Thaddeus Sori, a renowned legal practitioner here in the country, senior lawyer, many years of practice at the bar. He said that there was no basis for the detention of Martin Kpebu. I think the OSP is clear.
Akuffo should be a Jibre Hedge with you, so you don't be asked. Anom Ghana politics. Avenues. Uguso I would say to me, dear baby, do pepper, so you know. The ever catch up and say, Mauro and Fia, dear, like, share, subscribe to the channel. Say, we are political trending news, we are echo ever piano. Yen, so, Yacha Penny, the Baby, a better for any tier for send a money to man and Danny, then, Yadamasi, the end so the more my Agusian for, say, Osha, that's a own take, maybe as here. Fashion comment section or send ever here. You bet me more at the home in Kitan. The Nankupon should be your Jibre, a share, age material. Oh, I don't want that one. Found Sabos and Angel Pine, said your pine, pay I won't sat me, let's send 5 cities. Do we be asked, na men so macram.